most of you have been able to hear about the mafia and also may have watched a mafia movie or know anything about the mafia which were in the United States. And even right now, they are still in the United States, although the number of the mafias which are there right now has lowered compared to the 1900s over there. So the mafia is something which has been also kept a secret, and most of the people wonder how these people were used to operate during those years, and how did their reign come about, and what are the some of the things which they used to depend on when they were reigning during their time. So I'll be telling you about the way and also the rulership of mafia and the way and where they originated. And one thing is very sure, they originated from Italy, and that's because most of the mafias are Italians, and also there are some mafias which are Russians. But the ones which I'll be talking today, and the ones which movies have also been created mostly about are the Italian mafias. And most of the movies which you see, like Godfather, movies like Goodfellas, Bronx Tales, Casino, all these movies were created for the mafia and also tells the story of mafia. But today I'll be telling you the real story, leave alone the movies, because the movies have, some of them have been retouched and put some other fictional characters which were not there. Today I'll be telling you how the mafia used to operate and how it ended. So the mafia mostly operated in America. In America, their main place which they used to operate was New York. And if you look at the map of America, New York and where they used to have businesses in Las Vegas, it's two different parts of the country of the American, because one is further on the northeastern side, then the other is down on the southwestern side. So these are two different locations, and it is a very long distance. But the mafia, which were living in New York and a place called Manhattan, they were able to control the people which were living in Las Vegas, and also casinos in Las Vegas. So these came about by in the 1700s to 1800s. Over there, there was some immigration, and also there were some people which were ruling at that time in Italy. And those people which were ruling in Italy, those times they were used to oppressing the Italians and also the people which were in Italy, in also in a place called Sicily. Sicily is an island in Italy where it is south to the country of Italy, which is also a part of Italy. So they used to rule this place called Sicily and also the Italian place. By this time, they were used to be ruled by Romans and also other people. So the Italians got very annoyed and also got fed up with this particular rulership of other people from other different countries to come into their own country to rule them. So what the Italians did, and also the people in Sicily, they decided to make some particular group where this group will help them to fight away and also be the ones which will ensure for them security. So this group was a very nice group, and the group was made by just the local people. And after this group was made, the group now even grew even more stronger and started now turning back to the people and asking and also demanding people for money for their protection. So this group was in Italy. It was basically now called the Mafia, which was in Sicily. And Mafia is basically gotten from Sicily in the Italian island in Italy. So the mafia now started growing and also growing roots in Italy, where they had some families in Italy. And these families now were able to lead the mafia, and they were able now to give orders and also directions on what should happen, and also they were used to organizing the businesses. So later on there in 1900s, over there was immigration from Italy to where now they will now go to United States. And most of the Italians during that time moved from Italy to the United States, and they were able to locate in a place in New York, in Manhattan. After locating to this particular place, now they were able now to grow their roots. Remember, they had some particular things which were going on in Italy, where in Sicily the mafia roots were still over there. So they brought that particular groups, and also some of the people which were migrating were one of the mafias, and also were one of those groups. So when they went to America during that time in 1900s over there, they were able now to start infecting and also started forming those groups which were in Italy during that time. So after forming those groups, now they started making families, and also those families now started ensuring security in those particular places in New York, Manhattan. And after doing this, they now started becoming even bigger, where in the 1920s, a particular law which was prohibiting the use of alcohol in America now was passed. And this bill prevented anybody to buy or to purchase alcohol or to drink alcohol. So what the Italians and also the mafia saw this as a business opportunity and decided now to sell to people illegal alcohol, which was illegal during that time because it was prohibited. And by selling the alcohol, it will gain for them a lot of profits. And that's now when they found a business opportunity, which now started growing. And the other things which now they started doing was protecting people and also asking for people for money, where they, if anybody wanted to do a hit job, the mafia and also the Italians in New York will do that for them. And during this time, they were growing at very large rate and they were getting a lot of profits. And the profits were even becoming more and more until in the year of 1930, where there was a particular incidents where the Italians now they had a new ruler, and that time the new ruler was Benito Mussolini, the dictator which everybody know, and this dictator was a friend to Hitler, and this particular dictator now introduced new rules in that particular city of Italy and also the city of Italy called Sicily. And after introducing these rules, they were very hard on the mobs and also for the mafia. So what the mafia now decided to do is to migrate from Italy now to go to the United States. After migrating to the United States, now they are able now to fully start controlling as the mobsters and also the mafias as the head of mafias in the United States, because all of this, the people which were there controlling and also ruling Italy, America, one of the big bosses, which are like the people in Italy, because that was their home ground and that's where their main operation used to happen. So after these people being able to migrate, there was during that time there was a particular mafia leader called Joe, and Joe was the boss during that time for the mafia. And this particular Joe, after the Italians migrated and also the mob and also mafia migrated to America, now they had to, the mob now started wanting to have the location of America and start ruling the location of America as they were ruling in Italy. So they had some confrontation with this particular boss, the owner of during that time of New York and America, and he was the head of all the bosses during that time. So when they were having some confrontation, this confrontation took 1 year long, 1 year period where they used to fight on the streets and also shoot each other on the streets. So one day, when this boss was having dinner with his bodyguard, he was by mistake, he was killed by four gunmen. They came up to him when he was having dinner and they were able to kill him. So what really happened is that this particular boss and the bodyguard were very close, and the bodyguard is the one who had issued out that order for the boss to be killed. And this bodyguard now went to the other side of the people which came from Italy, from the new gang which came from the Italy, because he saw this gang was more stronger than the current gang which was in the United States. So after going to the gang which was in Italy, this particular gang also in Italy, the bosses which were during that time in America didn't like this particular gang leader in Italy because he was a little bit old-fashioned and older, and also he was doing things which were not right, and also he didn't have the capability, because what he mainly focused was the old-fashioned ways which he gotten from Italy, and he didn't know that New York and also America was a new system where people now had to operate very different. So what basically happened later on is that these other bosses didn't want this particular boss to rule, and also they didn't like his methods of ruling, And one of the things he used to call himself Capi, the bosses of the bosses. So this is one thing that the people didn't like. So another thing what happened is that the particular person which killed the other boss, the bodyguard, now did a hit for the boss of bosses, the person which came from Italy. And after doing the hit, now people now assume that he will name himself as the boss of bosses in America and also the mafia. And that during that time, there were five families of the mafia which were even created before him. These five families, they were the ones which represented all the mafia groups, and also they were leading the mafia in America. So what happened? This particular person, after being killed, he now decided, now the bodyguard was the one which was given power. Now the bodyguard was the one which was given power. What now the bodyguard did, he now decided that he will make a commission, leave alone the boss families which were there. Now he decided to make a commission which will be able to lead this particular mafia group and also make it as an organized crime gang. Now what he did, he made a seven group commission, and the seven group commission consisted of the five members of the mafia families, and also two members from outside. And this now consisted of the seven members of that commission. And this commission was to meet after every 5 years. They were able to meet and look for new ventures. And during this time now, after organizing this particular commission, the prohibition of alcohol now started being allowed in America. So this business was outdated, and now they started having and also had to look for other businesses which they will have to deal with. So now it's when now the mafia decided to make themselves at least legitimate and go into other businesses, and also ventures like truck businesses, and also businesses like garbage collection, and many other businesses like construction businesses. And this is now the businesses which now the mafia sought, and they started making their own groups. And also these groups were labor groups which now had to hire workers, which they will have to post these workers in constructions, be it in the waste management groups. They had to post their own members in this particular group. So later on in the years, the mafia was going very well. Later on there in the 1940s, 1950s, now the Las Vegas now started booming, and the businesses of Las Vegas were very booming. And during this time, gambling was the main thing, and it was the main catch. What the mafia now decided to do is they decided to invest in gambling, and that's now when now they offered protection to the head of the casinos in Las Vegas. Although the location of Las Vegas and also New York was very far, they still had their roots in Las Vegas. And during this time, Las Vegas was known as the sin city. Most of the people were being found in Las Vegas, either gambling. When you get money, you just go to Las Vegas. You'll find anything, anyone you want, money, or you find women also in Las Vegas, anything you want. That was your place to go for a holiday or anything else. And this now mafia saw as an opportunity, and now that's when now they decided also to own casinos in that particular place in Las Vegas. So the mafia now decided to deteriorate, to go down later on in the years, where in the 1950, during that time the TV station was very new. It was a new thing, and also it was not so many people had TVs, but TV was now being the catch, and also it was the thing which most people were talking about. So there in the 1950s, there was a particular case which was put out to the public, and this case was particular people of the mafia were being investigated. And these people of the mafia being investigated now made the whole story of the mafia to be public, and many people now started knowing about mafia. During that time, mafia was very secretive, and no one knew about mafia. So during these particular hearings which were happening, where the mafia bosses were being interrogated, they were being asked questions, and most of them were saying that they just take taxes on people. This is not any other type of business. It is not illegal. What they do is just take taxes from people. So this particular TV broadcasting which happened, made them very public, and many people started asking themselves questions about the mafia and how the mafia was and also how it began. Most of the people didn't know that the mafia was there. It was like a secret organization like the Illuminati or something like that. So later on in the 1950, 50s, 58, 57 over there was a particular meeting which was held and also being called out for the mafia, where one of the mafia bosses called out the other mafia groups to come to meet in a particular town. And this town was a very small town, and not so many people were living in this town. So when the mafia bosses came with luxury cars, came with suits, men just wearing black, the people around that area were very shocked, and they asked themselves, which kind of people are these? And that's when now the police were able now to come. And now after the police came, and they during that meeting there were around 100 members of mafia group who had attended that group. So when the police came, they were able to catch 60 members of the mafia group in that particular town which had come for that meeting. And this was very shocking, and also it was also broadcasted to the whole country. Remember, it was during the 1950s over there. And some of the mafias even were running away. They were seen even just scared. They were not the normal men which you assume to and also fear. So later on, the mafia they were hit by a big blow, because there was a person called Joe. Later on, he was caught because he was a drug trafficker. He was caught drug trafficking some drugs, and he was sentenced for 15 years in jail. And after being sentenced for 15 years in jail, it's when now in jail he stabbed a person to death. And after stabbing this person, now he was sentenced for lifetime in jail. After being sentenced for lifetime in jail, it's now when he decided to at least talk and also give out some information. And this information was very critical for the mafia, because he decided to give out information of all some of the mafia bosses, and also the past members of the mafia bosses, and how the mafia were operating. And this was the first information which linked and also gave the FBI the clue of what the mafia was. So later on in the 1960s, 67 over there was a particular hearing of that particular person which was giving this particular testimony by Robert Kennedy, which was the Attorney General of United States. And this Attorney General, which is Robert F. Kennedy, his brother was John F. Kennedy, and most people speculate that the people which assassinated John F. Kennedy were the mafia people, because during this hearing, Robert Kennedy was very hard on the mafia, and he was very tough on them, and he wanted all the mafias to be incriminated and also caught. They were saying that 800% mafia, the cases which were being caught and also the mafias which were being caught rose up to 800%. So you can just imagine what Robert F. Kennedy did to these bosses of the mafia. And the mafia were people where one single family was earning up to 500 million per year. So you can just imagine the other members of the family or the other organization. This was a very big organization if they are able to earn 500 million dollars per year. So after this person was able to testify against the other bosses. Now the United States introduced a new law where this particular new law was able now to convict and also catch the mafia bosses, where if anybody was linked, even just being linked, leave alone where these mafia bosses long ago, there was a law which was preventing them from being caught, because they will use other people to do these businesses and not themselves directly. So what the new law was, if anybody is just linked to this particular organized criminal organizations, they will have to be caught, be it a mafia boss or be it a person which is not is just a simple person or get one of the mafia bosses, you will still be caught. So later on, the mafia bosses, now the crackdown now started becoming so tough for them. Most of the mafia bosses were being caught and they were jailed for more than 100 years. And these mafia bosses were even dying in jail. So later on in 1990s and 80s over there was a particular mafia boss which was called John Gotti. Was the most famous mafia boss, and this mafia boss was living the luxury life which everybody would have loved. And one of the things which he used to do, he used to flaunt with many cars, nice suits. Everybody used to admire him, and he was publicly known as mafia boss. No one knew, no one would. It wasn't. It Everybody knew that this particular person was the head of the mafia boss. So later on, he was able to be caught and also jailed for lifetime in jail. And later on in 2002, he succumbed to death inside jail. And this is just basically the story of mafia. And now the mafia has decreased, and also the members of mafia have also decreased, and the people being caught for being mafias have been decreased because the top leaders of the mafia are no longer there. And also right now there are so much civilization, and also there are other gangs which now have taken place instead of the mafia. There are other gangs which, like the Russian mafias and other gangs from Mexico, have already taken place. So the mafia is not a thing which should be feared anymore, because it is a thing of the past. So that's the story of the mafia, and I hope you like this video. And if you like this video, please subscribe to this channel and also give this video a thumbs up. So till we meet next time, thank you.